Whether you're a student athlete or just someone who wants to train smarter, this video is for you. I'm Kylie. I'm a high schooler passionate about medicine and sports. I created this video for people like you to learn how they can keep themselves healthy while playing sports. I'm super excited because today we have an interview featuring our very special guest, Eric Jennings. Coach Eric is the founder of World XP Soccer, a soccer and fitness organization focusing entirely on the player, the physical, mental, technical, and tactical sides. He currently plays for the UPSL team Arlington SA Pro and also hosts the World XP podcast, where he interviews people from all walks of life to share their stories and expertise. Here's what's coming up. Myth busting, a 1-minute science segment dedicated to delayed onset muscle soreness, an interview with Eric Jennings, recovery tool reviews, and lastly, common injury prevention tips. Let's start with the myth that sounds right but isn't. More recovery equals less training. False. Recovery isn't the opposite of training, it's a part of it. When you train, especially with high intensity, you create micro tears in muscle tissue and elevate stress hormones like cortisol. Recovery is when your body repairs those tears, restores our energy systems, and adapts to handle future stress. Research shows that inadequate recovery leads to decreased performance, increased injury risk, and impacts your sleep and mood. On to our second myth. You should apply heat to an injury. This one can be tricky. Right after a sprain or strain, heat can actually make it worse. Heat causes vasodilation, more blood flow, which increases swelling and inflammation. That's the last thing you want the first 48 hours of your acute injury. Instead, apply ice 15 to 20 minutes every few hours during that window. Cold therapy reduces inflammation by constricting blood vessels, lowering tissue temperature, and numbing pain receptors. Once the swelling's gone down and the healing has begun, heat can help relax tight muscles and improve blood flow to recovering tissue. On to our third myth. Active recovery replaces the need for real rest. False again. Active recovery is helpful. Think walking, cycling, or mobility drills, but it's not a replacement for foundational recovery. Foundational recovery includes sleep, where growth hormones are released, along with nutrition, hydration, and complete rest. These are non-negotiables for tissue repair, hormone balance, and mental rest. Sleep alone impacts injury risk. One study found that people who slept less than 8 hours were 1.7 more times likely to get injured than those who don't. Active recovery boosts circulation and reduces soreness, but it doesn't rebuild your body. You need rest and movement to perform at your best. Our next section is 1-minute science, and today's topic is delayed onset muscle soreness. DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness, is the muscle pain and stiffness that typically occurs 12 to 72 hours after intense or unfamiliar exercise, especially movements involving eccentric, lengthening contractions such as lowering weights or running downhill. It's caused by microscopic muscle damage and is a normal part of the muscle repair and growth process, not a sign of injury. Symptoms include soreness, reduced range of motion, and tenderness. DOMS usually resolves in a few days, but can be managed with gentle movement, active recovery, massage, hydration, and proper nutrition. To reduce risk, gradually increase workout intensity and listen to your body. Alright, now I'm thrilled to welcome our special guest, Coach Eric Jennings. Today he's here to share his advice on balancing intensity with recovery and staying injury-free. As a recap, Coach Eric is the founder of World XP Soccer, which is a soccer and fitness organization, and he's also the host of the World XP podcast. He plays for the UPSL team named Arlington SA Pro, and we're so excited to have him here today. How are you doing today, Coach?
Can't complain. It's a good weekend. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go on the questions. First question is, what's your philosophy on balancing training intensity and recovery?
Yeah, so I think for every player, they've got to do what's best for them. So I'll just leave that as the caveat up front. Um, but recovery is probably one of the most maybe top two or three most important things an athlete can do, and it really starts with good sleep and good nutrition. Lots of athletes overtrain, and that leads to injuries. So in terms of philosophy on balancing it is really taking it kind of day by day and week by week and making sure that the athlete has a good program for in season. If they've got a tournament, then maybe that week we take lighter trainings. If they're in the off season, maybe the trainings are more intense. And just kind of balancing out throughout the season what their workload is. And as a trainer, it's important to get good communication from my athletes on what their workload is. Got some athletes that are playing other sports, swimming, playing basketball, etc. And so making sure that the workload on the body isn't too heavy. And if they've got a heavy week, then maybe we do some more mental training or like drill down on a very specific skill. And if it's in the off season, then we can get more intense with the strength and the fitness and the other things. So it really depends on what where the athlete is in their season and what the workload is, and then kind of going from there.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that it's personal to the athlete.
Yeah, and the athlete's got to know, right? They've got to have a good mind-body connection, know when they're feeling sore, to take a day off, making sure they're stretching, foam rolling, etc., getting good sleep, nutrition. Um, and that can also help inform, right? Because I don't know what you as the athlete are feeling, and so to kind of program or give you a workload for the session, the communication's got to be there. So. But yeah, I would really say it's dependent on each athlete and where they are in their season, and their development cycle.
Yeah. Okay, so on the topic of recovery, have you had an injury before where you had to recover and take a long time away from your sport?
Not a long time away from the sport, but I've had several ankle things and patellar tendonitis that or tendinosis. Like runner's knee that I have to deal with and manage. And then I had a an injury that I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, so I'll just describe it. But basically, the tendon that attaches the pubic bone to the adductor muscle in the inner thigh, it was heavily inflamed, and so I had a partially torn ab. And so lots of PT for that. I didn't have to stop playing. But lots of physical therapy, lots of making sure good nutrition, good sleep, proper warm up, activations before games and training, and then really patient and controlled with full sprints, not full sprints, when to kind of sprinkle that in, when to test it, when to not test it, and it's really kind of like that full recovery took about 18 months or so. Um, and so it's really you have good days and bad days, and it's kind of just staying true to the process and making sure that you're sticking to your exercises, making sure that you're consistent. And consistency is the key to recovery for something like that for sure.
Yeah, of course. Is there like one specific recovery thing that truly helped you a lot?
Um, I did get dry needling, and that was very helpful. But again, I would say in terms of recovery tools, sleep is king for sure. Getting good quality sleep, um, is the number one most important thing. All the other things are supplements, whether it's um, like the compression boots or massage or cold and heat therapy or any of these other things. It's really a supplement to good sleep and good nutrition. Those good sleep and good nutrition are far and away the most important things that you can do for good recovery.
Yeah, so in terms of your season, because you play at Arlington Pro, what is one like active recovery strategy you implement into your daily routine?
So, because I also have to balance out my training schedule for you and all the other players that I have, um, after games, if they are early enough in the day, then get a good meal with carbs and protein, making sure my body's fueled for the recovery, making sure I stretch when I get home, um, and do a good cool down. And then the next day, stationary bike, go for a walk, get the muscles moving. Don't let it linger. Oftentimes that takes the form of training. You see me hop into a drill here or there, kind of light intensity for me. But basically it's just to keep my body moving. And you'll see this as we train on Mondays. I make sure on Mondays, probably specifically more than other days, I go through the actual warm up that you guys do with you. And that's kind of my active recovery. It gets good stretches in, dynamic stretching and all that stuff. So I would say go for a walk, stretch, stationary bike, yoga, all good things for that follow-on day. And then definitely right after, good nutrition, good night's sleep. Um, and then if you have the time to go to 7-Eleven, grab some bags of ice, hop in the cold plunge, right in the bathtub, things like that are always helpful.
Yeah.
But like I said, good nutrition, good sleep for sure.
All right, so you're saying that the basics of recovery are the most important. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And
Yeah, no.
they're often overlooked, right? People like to sell supplements and this this powder or this pill or this thing, but without the basics, like there are, all those things are supplements to the basics. And if you don't do the basics right, you won't get the full kind of recovery package, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, of course. That's actually something I can implement into mine and other people can implement into their daily routine as well. So I know there's a lot of hype for short-term gains in the world, the sports world right now, and people are just chasing for like instant results. But how do you manage your short-term gains with your long-term recovery?
What do you mean in terms of like day after versus like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so what I mean by that is, what is the difference between recovering after a game, like 3 hours later, and then 1 day or 2 days or 3 days?
Yeah, so like we just talked about, um, going for making sure you're stretching, keeping a little bit loose right after the game, get a good cool down, good nutrition. Day after, depending on kind of what your programming is and how comfortable you are with your own body. So like something that I will do is a light activation session, band work. I'll be in the gym. It's not heavy lifting, but it's making sure that muscles are still good, activated in all the right ways. And that's for me in particular, right, with my knees and some other things that I got going on. So it's specific to me that I do that. In terms of long term, it's making sure you do those things after every game. So staying consistent is the key to injury prevention, to good recovery as a whole, to high performance, right? The best athletes in the world don't do anything crazy in terms of drills or all these things. They just do it all the time at the highest level that they can do it. Oftentimes, of course, they have chefs and other people that do it for them, and so that makes it easier, of course, and we don't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
luxury of doing that. But it's doing the basics at a very high level, very consistently, and that's what separates the levels for sure.
Yeah. So as a coach, you see your players every week, mostly once a week, twice a week. So is there like, can you identify signs of overtraining, and how can the people at home like identify themselves if they're overtraining or not?
Um, so for me with you guys, it's like we talked about before, that open communication. Hey coach, had 4 practices this week, have a tournament coming up. Okay, no problem. We're gonna do mental work and we're gonna take have a really light session. We're gonna stretch, we're gonna play soccer, tennis, right? All these sorts of things where it's not intense. So that comes from open communication in terms of me as a coach. Um, as a player, I can speak to this a little bit myself. We just finished up a long season and we're playing in a summer tournament. And my body's broken down a little bit. And so I'm going through some of the things at practice and then taking much more time off in between practice. Less gym sessions, less heavy sprint workloads, less things like that. Give myself a couple weeks to fully recover and then get ready for the next season. Um, so. I don't know if there's a one answer that's like, okay, yeah, you feel this and now you're overtraining, but it's just something to keep an eye on. Um, you've done this before where you've had a similar practice 1 week and then 2 or 3 months later we do another similar practice and you're much more tired after, or your legs are a lot more sore, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that would be things to keep an eye on, and just a good way to gauge, oh yeah, we just did that a month ago and I was not that tired last time we did this time dead, right? And then maybe be like, okay, maybe I need to take a couple days off, or make sure I take a day or two off here or there and before I get back into it. Things like that would be a good, maybe a good marker for that.
Yeah. And then adding on to overtraining. So, do you have any specific recommendations for nutrition and hydration in terms of recovery?
Yeah, so after games or practices, you want lean protein, complex carbs. So complex carbs are kind of like rice, pasta, bread, things like that. It's also important to note that the ingredients label, like what's in the ingredients, if there's like a gazillion things that you can't pronounce, maybe not the best. You want to stay on like the outside of the grocery store. But yeah, lean protein, complex carbs. So like some pasta, chicken, grilled chicken, and some vegetables, something like that after a game. And that's a pretty solid like blueprint for your meals. Before meals, for in terms of fuel for the game, I like to go with like it's called the 4-2-1 rule. If you guys are curious, you can Google it. But basically, it's a full meal, kind of 4 hours before the game, then a snack protein bar type thing, 2 hours, and then 1 hour before the game, an electrolyte drink, and that gives you kind of the right balance of fuel for performance at that time. So. I would say that's a good blueprint. But again, right, like if people go to my to the World XP Soccer channel, there's player spotlights on there, and players say all sorts of things. There's one player who played at a very high level Division 1 college, going on pro trials. He's like, "Oh, I love to have two like really big meals," and it's like, dude, you're not weighed down by that. And then another guy, and this is kind of a joke, but people think it's funny anyways. He's like, "Oh yeah, I have one hard-boiled egg 2 hours before the game," and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. So it really, again, like I said at the beginning, it really depends on the player and what they're comfortable with. So do a little bit of experimenting, do a little bit of maybe 3 hours before or 5 hours before, like a really big meal is best for you. So you got like these are all general guidelines and rules, and you can Google stuff and figure it out. But I would say that's a good blueprint for it.
Yeah, so with that, how important is it in your recovery? I know we talked about sleep and how sleep is the number one thing for your recovery, and then we have extra stuff such as compression boots and ice baths. But in those recovery strategies, how important is nutrition and hydration?
Super important because it's all the fuel. That's the fuel that you give your body to perform. And the better you are at recovery, the quicker you can go train again at 100% the next time. So if I'm getting proper sleep and nutrition and using some of the other tools and I'm back to 100% in a day and somebody else is back to 100% in 3 days, then over the course of the week, I get two more training sessions in, and then you compound that over like the year, and I've got triple the amount of sessions that they have and triple the amount of reps and the consistency that we talked about before. So the nutrition and hydration is absolutely crucial. It's the fuel that you give your body to perform.
Yeah. Um, So we just talked about different recovery strategies. Are there any recovery tools that you like genuinely believe are like really helpful towards you? And are theirs that are just like hype, mostly hype, and that don't actually like do anything for your recovery?
I can't think of any that are strictly hype off the top of my head, but I also keep it very simple. So, um, for me, cold plunges are great. Um, the mental benefits for cold plunge, I think, are there as well. And that also helps me specifically with knees. So when my knees are inflamed after games, that's super helpful for me. Massage gun, I think, is good. Compression boots, I think, are good as well. Um, Cupping can be helpful too. But I would say it's not a one size fits all. It's doing them when the time is right for that thing. So, for example, like if my muscles are, or if my knees are inflamed and they're puffy and swollen up, then I'm gonna hop into cold plunge. But if I'm good and my muscles are just a bit tight, then maybe I use the massage gun, or maybe if I just need kind of a good relaxing, more relaxing type thing, I pop on the compression boots. So it depends really on what you need at that time. And a lot of it, like we talked about before, is that mind-body connection. Like, what do you actually need? Like, what are you feeling after the game, right? Did you get kicked in the ankle? Your ankles are super sore, right? Or whatever it might be. And you feel different things after different games, right? Depending on you, maybe you play defense and you got a lot of challenges, a lot of 50-50s or whatever the situation is. But I think those ones that I listed are pretty good. But yeah, it depends on what you need and how you use them. And Google obviously is a great resource. I think I don't know if Squat University has stuff on recovery tools, but for lifting, they're very good. But yeah, so I would say those are generally pretty good. Um, but again, it depends on you, what you need, like what your circumstances are, to be most effective.
Yeah, and so is there like one principle that you could like have everybody follow on recovery or smart training? What would you recommend?
Do the basics consistently. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That's honestly the basics is like the most you can do for yourself in recovering effectively. So in smart training, I know most people um, they have gym sessions, they have to balance gym sessions and then regular training, maybe mental training. How do you balance those different types of trainings with work or school? And how do you implement recovery into that?
That's a good question. So I would say time management is the most important and having your sessions structured. So, as a player, you don't control what your team session is, obviously, but you do know what time it is and about how long it takes you to get home and to do all these other things, right? Um, and so if you're going to be in the gym, making sure you have a very structured session, um, 5 minutes here, 3 sets of this, 4 sets of that, whatever, and you stick to that, and you don't dawdle. And that way, you can kind of get in and out, get the work in that you need. Maybe let's say, for example, you're you go to the gym in the morning, then you've got work or school or classes or whatever, then you got your team session in the evening, come home, get a good meal in, good sleep, and then you kind of go through that the next day. Maybe instead of going to the gym, you take a walk, do some yoga, and then you kind of repeat. And so again, unless you've got so most people, um, in my situation, I don't have a very my schedule is a little bit inconsistent, and so I try to get things in where I can. So for me, it's a lot of what do I need? What am I feeling? Do I need activation? How are my knees feeling? Those sorts of things. But if you're in college or high school and you've got a very consistent schedule, then I would say it's about blocking off the time that you need. You know when you have games, you know when you have practices, you know when you're going to be in school, you know how long it takes you to get from place to place. And I would say to plan it out and like give yourself good blocks of time, um, and really targeted sessions. And that would be, I think, so time management, I would say, would be the best thing. If you got a meal prep as well, like maybe you get home from practice late and you don't really have time to make food, meal prepping instead of ordering DoorDash or whatever is also very helpful for that.
Yeah, so let's talk about your podcast. So your YouTube channel has a player spotlights on your teammates, correct?
Yeah.
And is there anything notable or something like funny related to recovery and smart training that one of your teammates has said on your podcast?
So the player spotlights are on the soccer channel. The podcast is a different thing where I talk to just people that are off doing all sorts of things, not necessarily soccer related. Um, that's a good question. No, we did a lot of them last summer. And they were very like quick fire questions. I can't remember any off the top of my head. Recovery, it was more like oh, who do you like better, Neymar or Bale? And like do you wear your socks high or low or those
Yeah,
sorts
yeah.
of those sorts of things. So I can't remember any off the top of my head.
Seems like your teammates are kind of funny then, just doing it rapid fire interviews. then.
Something like that.
Um, for this interview, what is one thing you wish the people watching at home would take away if they had to take one thing away from this video?
At the risk of repeating myself too many times, do the basics and do them well and do them consistently. I think it's a lot of people get caught up in I've got to wear grip socks and have this tape and take this powder and do whatever else or take this supplement, but proper nutrition, proper hydration, proper sleep is the most important things for performance. And then smart gym training, making sure that you're not overtraining. And we talked about those things already. But yeah, do the basics well, do them consistently, do them at the highest level you can, and that will take you far.
Yeah, so I've have my questions here. Um, is there anything that you have relied on when you were training, and how did you use recovery tools to your benefit? Like, how did you fit it into your training schedule?
So before games, sometimes, so I want to clarify one thing. Recovery does not have to be right after a game or a practice. So the example I'm about to give is on game days. Often I'll use the compression boots that morning, or a couple hours before the game, and then I'll go for a walk. So just to keep everything loose, right? Again, for me in my situation, just needed basically loosen up the lactic acid and get blood flow into the legs so my knees aren't stiff and I can move around, change directions and things like that. So I would say that's probably the most consistent at the moment that I've been using one of these tools. Um, Cold plunging, I used to do a lot more, but then buying ice at so our practices end at like 11 p.m. Going and buying ice from 7-Eleven at 11 p.m. every time we had a practice got to be a bit of a hassle. But yeah, at the moment, consistently compression boots, day of the game in the morning, get the blood flow going, things like that. That's been the one that I've been using most consistently at the moment.
Yeah, and then is there anything you'd like to add on recovery and smart training that you think is extremely important? Besides the basics, because we already said that before.
I would say if you have questions, right, obviously Google's there. Um, but find somebody that you trust, whether it's like a physical therapist or a nutritionist or any of these people. Because again, I'll say with the caveat is it all depends on what's right for you as the player, what you need, what your body needs. All of our bodies are different. They need slightly different things. Um, Different injuries, different strengths, different imbalances, all those sorts of stuff. So, um, talk to one of those if you've got like really in-depth questions, but otherwise Google can be your friend and then just verify, right? If you're like, oh, I don't know, I Googled this, it seems weird, check multiple sources, do your due diligence, but this is kind of what we talked about as a very good blueprint, I think, for the basics and yeah, that's kind of what I would leave people with.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to this section of our episode on Unbreakable Athlete X. We really appreciate you. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll put your thing here on the screen somewhere. I don't know. I'll point to it up here or something. And go check out Coach Eric's podcast. Go check out his channel, his Instagram. He's a wonderful coach, always helps me with stuff. Um, he's for the players. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, our next segment, we will be reviewing recovery tools. So I'm just gonna put it out there. Every recovery tool is probably a good recovery tool. It just depends on what your needs are. So, going along with that, number one recovery tool, sleep. 5 stars. Sleep is critical and also happens to be free, the most cost-effective option. Um, it allows your body to restore itself at every level. The muscles rebuild, hormones like growth hormones are released, and the brain consolidates learning. I mean, no matter how much you spend on like fancy gear, poor sleep will always undermine your performance in your recovery. Make sure you get 7 to 9 hours per night, and it should be your first priority. So if you do one thing, have good sleep. Next, we got compression boots. So, I would put compression boots at like 3 stars just because they're not the most cost-effective option out there. It feels great. How they work is that they use air pressure to massage legs and promote circulation. It also helps out flush metabolic waste and reduces muscle soreness. This can be pricey, upwards of like thousands of dollars, but for people who regularly do endurance sports or heavy leg training, it might be a good option for you to like invest in. They are less practical if you are on a budget, so that's why I would put it at 3 stars. Our third one is an ice bath. I would put it at 4 stars. Ice baths are like relatively like affordable, and they also reduce acute muscle soreness and swelling, inflammation. So they're pretty good. They're pretty cost effective. You can just put it in a bathtub and buy some ice, which costs really little actually. Although if you want to buy a commercial cold plunge tub, they can run into the thousands of dollars. So, it really varies on the type of ice bath you want. They're not the most comfortable, but they can quickly improve your recovery speed, especially after endurance or contact sports. And then moving on to the next one, we got massage guns. So massage gun, I would put at the 3 stars. They do offer targeted percussive therapy for muscle tightness, soreness, stiffness, and they're more convenient than a bunch of these other options I've talked about today. But the good quality devices do range from $100 to $400, and their effects are generally short term, like increased blood flow and mobility. So that's why I only put it at 3 stars. Their effects are short term, and with the price and the time of the effects, it's not as good as some of the other options. But consistent use can improve muscle function and ease your tension. So I do put it at 3 stars. The last one, we got foam rolling. So foam rolling, I'd also put at 4 stars. It's super budget friendly. $15 to $50. $50 is kind of stretch. It's kind of expensive for $50, but yeah. They're great at breaking up knots, improving tissue quality, and increasing range of motion. They do require more effort and proper technique because with a foam roller, you're using your own body weight to roll out your knots. So their effectiveness generally depends on how regularly and properly you use them. But if you're willing to put in the time and effort, foam rolling is a super good option. They target big muscle groups of your body, so it's super convenient for you, and you can just bring it everywhere. So I give that 4 stars. And yeah, on to our final segment of the video. Our final segment of the video is about different common overuse injuries in athletes. So personally, I've had friends deal with these injuries and they're not fun. So I hope I can educate you guys so you can prevent these injuries, and if you have this injury, you can help yourself out. Our first one is shin splits or medial tibial stress syndrome. So shin splits are like a common issue with athletes and runners in high impact sports. The main symptom is a sharp aching pain along the inner edge of the shin bone, especially during or after activity. This is when the muscles and the tendons around your shin become inflamed from repetitive stress. To prevent this, you should gradually increase your training intensity and wear proper footwear with good support. So if you have inserts, if you have low arch feet, get some inserts. If you're already dealing with this, rest is key. Ice the area, reduce high impact activity. Consider even cross training with low impact exercises such as swimming or cycling while you recover. Alright, so next up we got runner's knee, or patellofemoral pain syndrome as a scientific name. It causes dull, aching pain around or behind the kneecap, especially when climbing stairs, squatting, or sitting for long periods. It's triggered by improper tracking of the kneecap or muscle imbalances in the legs. To prevent it, strengthen your quadriceps, hamstrings, hip muscles. Always warm up and stretch properly before workouts. Wearing the right shoes and avoiding sudden jumps in training and volume can also help. Recovery, rest, ice, physical therapy, and temporarily avoiding activities that cause you pain. In some cases, taping or a knee brace may help stabilize the joint. Personally, one of my friends, they used taping when they had runner's knee, and it extremely helped them, so I highly recommend that. Alright, our last common overuse injury of the day is Achilles tendonitis. So it's a type of inflammation of your tendon that connects your calf muscles to your heel. I'll put it like an image there somewhere, I don't know. But it's typically caused by sudden increases in training, tight calf muscles, or poor running mechanics. You typically feel stiffness or in the back of your ankle, some pain, especially during morning or activity. You can prevent this by stretching your calves regularly, strengthening lower leg muscles, and wearing supportive shoes that reduce tendon strain. So, got inserts. If the symptoms appear, scale back your activity, ice the area, and use gentle stretching and eccentric movements that lengthen the muscles to stretch. Well, one thing to note is that you should avoid pushing through the pain, as it can lead to more serious injuries like your tendon rupturing. As we reach the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Hope this video gave you real practical tools to train smarter, recover stronger. Whether you're an athlete pushing through to your goals, or you're just trying to stay healthy, stay active, just remember that rest, it's not a weakness, it's what makes your growth possible. As I continue the series, I'll be diving deeper into performance, mental health, nutrition, so stay tuned. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, share, follow, comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts on your different recovery tips. And remember to take care of your body so I can take care of you.